It's crazy to think. The guns thing is just wild. So when you decided to come forward, did you face any challenges with that? Have you got any death threats and whatnot?
Death threats, no, but it was interesting. Like, the way it works is when you get subpoenaed, the first thing they do is they bring you in and they give you a deposition. So I was deposed in front of staff from Senator Grassley's office. Senator Leahy, who was the senator at the time, he was the chairman of Judiciary. And then on the oversight side, it was Darrell Issa. He was the chairman of the Oversight Committee, and Elijah Cummings. So there's not them, but their staffs, which are all lawyers, interviewed me in a room in a hotel, not a hotel room, but like a room that they rented, like a conference room. And so it was about a 6 to 8 hour interview. And I remember I laid everything on the table, all the stuff that's in my book, because there's a lot of stuff that preceded Fast and Furious that'll really upset you when you read it. So I laid it all on the table. And before I even walked the 6 blocks back to where my car was parked, because I parked at the office, I got a phone call from a prosecutor saying, "Hey, everything that you just said in that room was relayed to the United States attorney, who obviously did not fare well through that whole mess. He was the chief law enforcement officer for the feds in Arizona. He had a hand in it. So I knew I had a problem at that point. A couple of days later, I got a call from another prosecutor in the office, because some of them were good people that wanted to do their job, frankly. So I met him. He slid an email across the table to me, and I'm reading it. And I'll try to get as close to verbatim as I can. But what it said is, anyone, it was to all of his staff, the whole U.S. Attorney's Office, anyone running into Pete Forcelli, even if it's on the weekend having a cup of coffee with his family, will report it to me through your chain of command immediately. So
Wow.
yeah. So like this point, you realize, okay, they got a target on me. And then not too long after that, I started getting surveilled, where I was followed, sometimes in a very overt way. So and you wonder, was it OIG? Was it, private
Yeah.
investigators? Was it some, into ATF internal affairs? Like, I had no idea. I still don't know who it was, but there were times where, I would notice them in the rearview mirror. But then there were times where they made it obvious. Like, I take my family out, and I remember one time we were sitting at a restaurant, and it was one of those restaurants where like there's like a bench that runs the whole wall of the restaurant, and there's
Yeah.
various tables. And this guy was like literally sitting to my right, and he kept looking at me and my family. He's with another guy, and they just kept staring at us. And here I am with my wife and my 2 kids. It's scary. And then like you think, well, maybe I should confront them. And it's like, well, that could get ugly if I reach for something. So you don't know how to handle something like that. And then when I actually testified in front of the committee, um, the actual hearing, which was on C-SPAN, not that anybody watches C-SPAN, right? But while that was happening, the chief of the criminal division accused me of perjury. So now I was under investigation for perjury
Damn.
for telling the truth. Thank God I could document everything I said. But and then they subpoenaed him. He pled the fifth and resigned. So I guess you can't plead the fifth unless you're guilty of something, right? But that continued for 4 years. For 4 years, I found myself under investigation. But look, I followed some good advice. Don't get political, and don't speculate. Don't embellish. So I just stuck with stuff that I could either prove with documents or that I had witnesses to. But it took 4 years and six times where I volunteered to take a polygraph, which is insane,
Damn.
to clear my name. Yeah, it was rough.
Man, it's insane to think that that could happen in America, and if we can be careless about it. Has there been some new parameters put into place so that the ATF couldn't do that again?
Well, when the Phoenix command staff got removed back when Fast and Furious was still kind of when it was first blown up, they removed all the special agent in charge of the two ASACs. A new command staff came in. They fixed a lot of things there. Um, Eric Holder appointed a guy named B. Todd Jones to be the director. He came in and really fixed things. It took a while, because you don't turn around a battleship on a dime. But him, and he had a deputy director named Tom Brandon. They came in and they really we focused on going after violent people and not letting guns walk. So they changed things. The culture changed a lot. Unfortunately, right now there's some other political things happening that concern folks. But yeah, I mean, things changed, but it's like a pendulum, like any other law enforcement organization or any administration. Things change and then they change back, and you got to just make sure that people are staying honest.
Absolutely. Man, that's really all the questions I had for you today. Is there anything else you'd want to tell the audience that you want to just mention?
Yeah, just briefly, when this scandal happened, the reasons I wrote the book, there's a couple. One was if you watch the news, you heard the Democrat version or the Republican version of what happened. So the real version never really came out. So I want folks to know, because I'd get approached by agents who were agents with ATF during that time. And then some folks we hired afterwards would say, hey, what really happened? And we even proposed, like, why don't we put together some sort of training so that it never happens again, like the military does, after action report and whatnot. And
Yep.
we were always told, no, we don't talk about Fast and Furious. We don't talk about Fast. So the reality is a lot of people, even within ATF or within law enforcement, don't know the real story. So that was one reason. And then the other thing, and it was something that really bothered me, which, I hope I brought them some peace, although I know I didn't give them all the answers they want. I sat next to Josephine Terry. Well, not next to her. We sat at the same table as Josephine Terry, Brian's mother, when I testified on June 5th, 2011. And I got to meet his cousins and whatnot. I've since spoken to his brother, had communication with his sisters, but never spoke to them. These are good people. I mean, these are like just honest people, the people you want living next door to you, just nice human beings. And, Josephine's son died valiantly. He died in the line of duty. He was a great American. And in many ways, all they wanted was answers, and
Yeah.
they were just disrespectfully treated by our government. So one of the reasons was to help maybe give them some answers. So, and I hope I was able to accomplish that for everybody. I hope everybody sees what happened. It never happens again. And I hope that, people will remember Brian Terry for what he was, which was a hero. Because, I'm a firm believer. A hero only dies the last time his name is mentioned. So if people read that name in the book, keeps his memory alive, then mission accomplished.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. Brian Terry had a big significance in my career, and actually it's what pushed me to join for the special operations of the Border Patrol as well. So the story is close to home, and I really appreciate you telling the story. I'm excited to read the book. Genuinely, I appreciate your time, sir.
I'm honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
We cut through the partisan talking points. We're not interested in perpetuating fear. We're interested in seeking truth, hearing what's really going on America's borderland.